Jason Salas, who's standing by with the Guam Association of Realtors. Jason, good morning.
All right, good morning, and good morning, everybody. You know, one thing that we always try and put a very, very positive spin on it, because it is a very positive, thriving, lucrative industry, is real estate right now. And I have two of the members of the Guam Association of Realtors, the current president of GAR, Sean Blas. Sean, always good to see you, bro.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right, and somebody that I think I may have worked with once or twice before in the past here on KUM, Liz Duenas, who will be returning to her seat as the president of GAR in the next term and everything. So, Liz, Hafaday, good to see you.
Hafaday, thanks for having us.
All right, so guys, let's break down, because we got some time here. What is the current state of the market? Because there are some people who said, in the middle of a pandemic, there are some people say, we're still smack dab in the middle of it. We're coming off it, where there's another surge, so we'll never truly be out of it and everything like that. What is the state right now in terms of stability and robustness of Guam's real estate market?
Lizzie, you want to take that?
Well, our market is still strong. The only and we're getting multiple offers on the different properties. The only problem is our inventory is limited if you're looking for a house. The inventory right now is limited if you're hunting for a house. So as a result, we're getting multiple offers for the individual homes that are currently listed. So we're hoping that things stabilize a bit, but the problem is getting the contract workers to build homes. And there are a few projects that are going up. The problem is pricing. What will they be priced at? Right, Sean?
Yeah. What will they be priced at, and is there enough to go around for everybody within that price range? The median price of homes on Guam is around the 380 price range. And the biggest problem is, even if you're looking for homes within the 400 or even 425 range, you're really not going to find anything. And if you do find something, it's going to be a fixer-upper, which is going to be a challenge when you go to the banks. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully things do stabilize. We hope that the market will kind of tilt back to more of a level playing field.
Yeah. So the time to buy a home, to build a home, it is still a very fortuitous time right now, and maybe even to get the process started. It would be smart to do this. So hopefully, when the economy gets back to a semi-normal state and everything like that, you can really capitalize on that, whether from the buyer's or the seller's perspective and everything. So so let's start at the very beginning, guys. And if I can maybe kind of play on the construction analogy and everything like that, when we're laying the foundation, as it were, for getting that home, the American dream is actually owning your own home and everything like that. What is the first step that one has to do in actually beginning that journey and everything towards home ownership?
I think the first step that people should do is go to the bank, get pre-qualified, and then at least what your budget is. And then just bear in mind, you're going to need a down payment. So, but again, Sean will agree with this, you got to go get pre-qualified, because you need to be prepared once you find that home that you like. You want to be able to say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm pre-qualified. Here's my pre-qualification, and I have my down payment. So you should save about 4 to 6% to cover 4 to 6% of your purchase price to cover your down payment.
Yep.
You're going to need that.
Yeah, that's true. That is the first step you absolutely should take. Most most buyers that I talk to are very scared of taking that first step. Truthfully, it really isn't a scary step. And the reason why it's important is because you don't want to fall in love with a home that you can't afford. And the only thing you really need to do when you come into the bank, for the most part, are you need to bring in 2 recent check stubs, maybe a list of your debt, and possibly your most recent tax returns. And that's really all they're going to need to start the start with a soft inquiry. There are some banks that will actually pull credit, and that'll definitely help you determine where you're at, as far as buying power goes.
Mm-hmm. And I should add to that, Sean, is the lending institutions and the financial establishments and everything throughout the last year and a half have not been, cold, unforgiving, corporations and everything like that. They really have worked with lenders and everything like that. Interest rates have been historically at all-time lows. The APRs have been great and everything like that. So that really does bode well for people that are still looking to start the process of getting a home.
Right. This is the time to buy because the interest rates are low, and people are even refinancing their loans because it is at an all-time low. So, we're telling people, look at your current interest rate. If you're paying 5, 6, or 7% on a loan, this is the time to go refinance, and also the time to go and buy because, these are the best rates ever in terms of purchasing a home as well as refinancing.
Now, that having been said, Sean, would you say this is still a good time, again, taking into consideration the economic climate in which we exist right now, as a potential home buyer, should I still be gunning for the home of my dreams, or given what's going on in the world and everything like that, should I maybe say, okay, let me get a home, I can use that in like a maybe not my dream home, maybe not on Sleepy Lagoon, maybe not up in the hills of Tumon and everything like that. I can have a transitional home and I can still put equity into that, and then maybe 5, 6, 10 years down the road and everything like that, I can go for my palatial mansion.
Yeah, exactly. And truthfully, even if you buy something that's not your dream home today, I mean, there are a lot of ways to turn a home like that into your dream home. Just with some simple home renovations, right? So, but you're absolutely right. I mean, if you buy something today that maybe is like 70% of what you really want, 5, 10 years down the line, you can definitely work on finding something that's going to be 100% of what you want.
Now, closing costs is something that always comes up, and when we talk about exactly what the buyer will have to put down themselves, and the out-of-pocket costs and everything like that. As a buyer, again, we'll use me as an example. How much of that do I have to burden?
So it generally is between 4 to 6% is what we normally tell people, right, Liz?
Yes.
But the thing you have to keep in mind is that there are 2 different costs that normally people have to come up with out of pocket. The first one are closing costs, which are the 4 to 6%, and the rest of it is the balance of your purchase price. Now, there are different types of loans, and I'm not going to get into the into the different loan types, or I'm not going to get into detail of it. But there are certain loans, such as the RD loan and the VA loan, which to 100% of the purchase price. And then there are other loans where you can do like 97, 95, 90% of the purchase price. Now, when you go into those type of loans, then you have to consider that you have to come up with between 3, 5, and 10% of the purchase price plus the closing costs. But it actually it sounds very intimidating, but there are actually ways to get around paying for it. Guam Housing Corporation is actually a good way to do that. Liz, you want to cover a little bit on Guam Housing Corporation?
Yeah, Guam, they have a program where if you need your closing costs, it's interest free. That it's called the CAHOT grant, that you could use that to utilize for your closing costs. And many clients have used it. It's a wonderful program. Of course, it is subject to availability, and the banks are familiar with it. So if you're purchasing a home, the best thing to do is ask your loan officer, I'd also like to take advantage of the CAHOT loan grant for my closing costs. And then the loan officer will tell you whether it's available at their bank and whether funds are available for it. It's interest free, and it's to help our clients be able to purchase a home. It's a great benefit, of course, subject to funding availability.
Okay, so
and there's actually
please, Sean.
One other way, if I can, Jason, really quickly, is the old-fashioned way of asking mom and dad for a little bit of money too. So you can definitely get that. Those are called gift funds. And again, when you guys go to the bank, talk to the bank about how you can go about asking or getting gift funds from family.
Yeah, depending on your relationship with your parents or your Nina or your Nino, that may be a more stressful process and everything if you go to what they call Bank of Mom, right?
That's right.
Well, guys watching this right now, this is a completely interactive segment. We want you guys to throw in questions if you have any inquiries or any concerns or questions you would like to ask of Sean and Liz. Go ahead and throw them in. Because guys, I got one question right here, and this is a fantastic question from Amy Jackson. And Amy says, Sean and Liz, are there programs for people who may not have the down payment but could definitely manage their monthly payment?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on your, and I'll let Liz answer this in a second, but depending on your qualifications, and that's the reason why you want to go to the bank, the first thing you need to find out is what type of loan you qualify for. So if you qualify for 100% financing, such as the VA or RD loan, then that already covers at least the purchase price, and then you only have to worry about the closing costs. Now with the RD program and with the VA program, they actually, as long as it appraises, right, and that's a whole other discussion, but as long as it appraises, they can cover a portion of the closing costs. So it can go from 4 to 6% to possibly 2 to maybe 4 or 5% out of pocket. And then, like Liz said, you can definitely go to Guam Housing Corporation and apply for the grant or the no interest loan that they have, and that'll definitely help you out. And Liz, did you want to add anything to that?
No, it just, of course, if there are times where the buyer would ask the seller, would you credit X amount so that it would cover my closing costs? But because we're in a competitive market, we're not seeing many of those anymore because people are competing. So usually the seller would entertain an offer that has the least contingency. So a while back, we used to see a lot of that, but not right now, especially when it becomes competitive.
And it's kind of interesting, guys, how, the funny term for this is kind of like, pay out of pocket and everything like that. But the denomination of your closing costs is typically not the kind of money that someone's just carrying around, like, in their wallet and everything. So are there any other types of costs associated with this that people looking to buy a home, should plan for, should ask questions about, and, hopefully try and like save up?
Well, the normal closing cost, of course, is, as Sean and I put it, is your down payment and your percentage of your loan fees, because you have to pay for your appraisal, your inspection, depending on the loan type. But I would caution people to, hey, start saving money. If you're interested in buying a home sometime down the road, start putting some money away, because then it makes life a lot easier when you go to the bank and you do have the percentage of a down payment. Now, as Sean put it, the loan types, I mean, it'd be wonderful if you could get a 97.3 where you only have to come up with 3%. But again, it's dependent on the bank that you go to and the different loan types. So just bear in mind, start saving at least 4 to 6%, and then know that there are different loan types that require down payments.
And on Liz's, with what Liz said, when you do have money or when you do save up money, make sure to put it in the bank. It's really, really important. The bank,
yes.
The bank definitely frowns upon and normally doesn't accept what we call mattress money, and those are the money that you hide under the mattress, for a rainy day.
I'm still a shoebox guy myself.
Oh yeah, no, that works too. Now the other, to answer your question further, are there any other associated costs? Yes, you should. There are inspections involved. There's a pest control inspection where the pest control inspector goes and looks for any types of infestation of the home. There's a home inspector where they go around looking for structural, electrical, and plumbing issues. There's a septic tank inspection. I mean, there are several inspections that you can avail to, and just make sure when you do talk to your realtor to ask them what inspections that they recommend that you should take. And, definitely don't shy away from doing any inspection. It's better to have a house over inspected than under inspected, so that when you move in, you don't have to worry about anything.
Now, aside from the dollar figure, Sean, this is Guam, and we have a very, community oriented, structure, obviously. So some people might say, okay, well, I'm going to spend my money on, the pest inspection and everything like that. But when it comes to like structural, my brother-in-law is good at that thing, or I've got a classmate that, has done this thing a few times and everything like that. Certified, credentialed inspectors are always the best way to go, right? And in terms of like timeline and everything like that, if you dot all your I's and cross all your T's and everything like that, what are you looking at in terms of, getting from soup to nuts, as they say, get like everything thoroughly assessed?
Well, you should have, as Sean put it, you should, you can bring a family or a relative who is certified in that. Of course, that won't cost you anything, but many of the buyers that we've worked with have paid inspectors anywhere from $500 to $600 to do an inspection. A pest inspection is about $100, where I'm just giving estimated costs. And then a septic tank inspection could be up to 300, right, Sean? It could be up to 300. So these are additional costs that you may want to count on. But as Sean puts it, there are gift funds that you could ask family to help contribute to your down payment and your actual costs. But there's some limitation. There's a percentage that, that they count on. So always check with the bank if you're counting on getting gift funds from your mom and dad or your Nino and Nina. You just have to make sure you disclose that this is what you're doing. And then the loan officer will give you instructions. But again, as Sean puts it, if you're saving money, do not put it under your mattress. Put it in the bank, because the bank does paper trail. They want to know how much money you have in the bank, and they want to see that. We had situations where people sold, I remember one case where they sold a motorbike and they were going to use the proceeds, and the bank was really strict about, okay, when did you sell it? Where are the receipts? They wanted to see the paper trail. So the bank could get really rather diligent in checking the paper trail, because they're regulated on seeing where did these funds come from. So, yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why you don't want to use a family friend, personally speaking, is because when something goes wrong later, you want to be able to go back to that person and say, hey, what happened? I thought you said there were no termites, and all of a sudden I have, my whole kitchen is eaten up, or maybe you go into the house, start moving in, and none of the electrical outlets are working. So if you use a licensed licensed person, at least you can almost guarantee that that everything's going to check out, because they want to do their job right. Use a family friend, and sometimes probably everything looks good, but really is it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or they could maybe say like, okay, well, I know you've got a hornet's nest in the corner, or I saw a couple of cockroaches, but we all got cockroaches in our house on Guam and everything like that. I'm going to let it slide. That may actually mask a much larger problem that would definitely affect the value of the property in a negative way.
So if they find, let's say for example, they discover there's a structural, that could be a negotiating point with the seller. Depends on how your contract is written, because there's a section in the contract that states any government deficiency will be corrected by the seller. So at the end of your inspection, normally we've had buyers who come to us and they say, see my report. These, I've seen, 60 to 80 pages sometimes in a report, and a buyer would look at it. And sometimes I've had one buyer to say, okay, there's so many items here, but I'm only concerned about these items. And sometimes they get specific. The rest are minor. However, these are critical points that I'm concerned about. So then at that point, we go back to the seller, and then we say, Mr. Seller, can you correct these deficiencies? Or sometimes they negotiate it where the seller will say, okay, I'll credit you X amount to cover those deficiencies.
Okay, Sean, I want to ask you like a hard question, and I want to pedal back again using myself as in my own situation, right? Say I've got my eye on a really, really beautiful piece of property. I'm keen on owning this. I want to, put my roots down, say it's in Barragata Heights, right? And I want to, raise my family there. This is the home of my dreams, and if I should move into there, that's where I want to stay for the rest of my life on Guam, right? Which hopefully is going to be a long time. Right now at the current moment, should I actually say, and because I've never owned a home before, and if I want to qualify for like first-time homeowner benefits, should I actually hold off and wait for the home of my dreams, or should I do like we were talking about before and maybe do the transitional step and then get equity in that home and everything like that, and hopefully use that as a benefit to myself when I try and get a loan for the other home, like say in another 5-10 years? I'm thinking strategically, how should I map that out?
I really don't think I'm going to be giving you the answer that you want, but the first step you really should do is you should go to the bank and find out what you qualify for. You might get surprised, and you might be able to afford the home of your dreams already. And if you can't, then absolutely you should. If you're in a hurry to buy already, then buy something that's close to the home of your dreams and turn it into, at least something that comes up to 80 to 90% of what you're really wanting. And then down the line, you can definitely rent it out, and then buy something that, that's close to 100% of what you're really looking for. So again, the first step is definitely go to the bank, find out if you qualify for the home of your dreams, and make sure that you have enough down payment to be able to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll definitely help guide you into which path you really should take.
Okay, yeah, because Liz,
every buyer is different. So we always ask, what is your intent? What is your goal? Now, we have helped buyers. I remember one buyer where he bought a condo, which was at the time was only $50,000. By the time he sold it, it's a stepping stone. So by the time he sold it, it appreciated up to $125,000 when we sold it.
Mm-hmm.
Then he took the equity and went and bought another condo, which eventually he sold again. And then he took the equity, continued to roll the equity from each property he bought and sold. And then at the end, he built a home and took the equity from the two previous sales to build his home. And he put less out of pocket because the equity from the two previous properties helped build a bigger home. So that could be a process where you start small and then you build the equity, then move to the next step. So it's a stepping stone.
And that's the one thing that I've really taken away, Liz, from you and Gino when we do our segment is, even if you only buy one home in your entire life, you and your spouse, and then you live there, for the rest of your life and raise your family, that's the only thing you ever know. That still is an investment, and you have to look at that as a strategic plan. There is a tactic to that, because I think one thing that people tend to misunderstand is they try and look at home ownership as they would like owning like a car, and they say, like, if I want a Tesla, I'm just going to save up for a few years and I'll keep driving around a jalopy until I can afford a $90,000 Tesla. But with a home, you have to be a little bit more tactical, right? And your mindset's a little bit different.
Right.
And you can make the system work for you, as you just said.
So what some people do when they first start their home, of course, to build your equity, as time progresses, they start to do improvements. They renovate the kitchen slowly, and then eventually they get to the bathrooms. And by the time they're ready to sell, of course, the value has gone up, and they've got a bigger equity at the end because of the improvements they've done over time. So it is a process.
Mm-hmm. Now, Sean, one component... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I just want to say that's one of the biggest differences between buying a home and buying a car. Is majority of the times you buy a car, especially if it's brand new, the minute you take it off the lot, you lose equity.
Yep.
When you buy a home, you don't lose equity the minute you move into it. Actually, I mean, chances are, depending on the market, the value of the home will go up. So I mean, using that analogy is definitely very good. But there is a huge difference between the two.
Very good point. Guys, Sean, one of the important components in like the life cycle of getting to that point when you actually have the keys to your own home is the title company. Is this absolutely essential, and what role do they play in helping you move in?
I believe that it's 100% essential. One of the biggest reasons why is they do something called a preliminary title report or a PTR, which they go back and they check on any liens that are against the property, whether they're tax liens or construction liens. They also look at the chain of title to make sure that the person that you're buying the home from is actually the seller. If they're not, then you're in a lot of trouble. One of the other benefits of using escrow is when you do avail to their title insurance, is that let's go say, and it's a very rare instance that they mess up and they don't see the complete chain of title. So, let's go, and using you again, Jason, as an example, let's go say you buy your home in Barragata Heights,
mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden you have, Mr. So-and-so knocking on the door saying, hey, listen, this is my home. My grandfather gave it to me. Here's my deed. You actually don't, if you get title insurance, you actually don't have to go to any attorney. You just go straight up to the title company and you say, hey, listen, this guy's knocking on my door. He's saying that that he owns the home. I need you to take care of it. And you basically just go home, you go to sleep, and they do all the work. And that's not saying what the outcome's going to be, but at least you don't have to come up with anything more out of pocket. But that's the benefits of using escrow, is that they take care of all of that for you, and they act as a middle person. So basically, when you have your contract written, the escrow company is the one that makes sure that every line item on that's written in your purchase agreement is followed. I mean, to the T. And if it's not, then they make sure that both sides are happy, and you have to sign some type of agreement stating that even though this part wasn't complete, that you're both still happy with it. So yeah, it's 100%. I think it's a necessary step, actually.
Mm-hmm. This is a lot to process.
They're actually the neutral party to make sure everything is in place in order to close the transaction. And the title insurance is critical whenever I buy property, regardless of, what type of property. I always get title insurance. And because I've seen crazy stories that have cropped up, unexpected, and just bear in mind, there are two title insurance. One, if you're getting a loan, the bank will have one. It protects the bank. The other one is optional to the buyer. But I always recommend, Mr. Buyer, I do it personally just for my protection. You just never know. And like I said, we've had crazy stories. I remember there was one story about boundary points that there was the way the property was surveyed was not proper based on what the owner thought they had. So if they didn't have the title insurance, the attorney costs would have been borne by the individual owner. Mm-hmm. So when you have title insurance, they pay for all the costs associated with cleaning the problem. And that includes attorneys, it includes paying off the aggrieved party, whoever that may be, if there's an issue with another individual. So it just covers, it protects you.
So I just want to say right now, God bless title companies and the work that they do.
Yes.
Certainly
yes.
It makes your job a lot easier. And I want to kind of shift our gear into reverse again, using like an auto analogy, if I may, Sean, because when you guys were talking about there is an inventory shortage like on Guam right now, in no doubt affected somehow because of the health crisis that we've all dealt like globally for the last year and a half. And does that mean there are no properties to buy on Guam, or does that mean like if I'm shopping around, I should hold off or I should wait, or what exactly does that mean when you say a shortage?
So when we say shortage, what we mean is that there are still homes available, but it's going to be a little bit tougher. You're not going to be able to spend, like what we used to do 3 years ago, weeks at a time, searching for a home. Now, the minute something comes up, you definitely have to jump on it if you like it. Chances are you're going to have at least 10 other offers. A good example would be about two or 3 weeks ago, there was this home in Talafopo that came up. And I showed my cousin. I was probably the second agent that showed it. I was the first person to put in an offer, and it was a full price offer, and we still lost it. There was I think the agent said there were like 5 or 6 other offers that came in, and I don't know where I placed in there, but 5 or 6 other offers, and it was a full price offer, and I still lost it. And I turned it in the same day that it came on the market. So there is a shortage. There are still homes to buy, but the minute that these nicer homes or these homes that can be financed, I guess, or that are in livable condition, the minute they come on the market, normally they're out the door within the same week.
Wow.
If not the same day.
This is what we're seeing, Jason, with offers now. We're getting multiple offers, as Sean says. So the offers could be there. The offers are in sometimes higher than the asking price and less contingencies. For example, normally the seller would pay for the boundary point marking, and a buyer will have to go and inspect it and approve it. But what's happening now is they're saying, we're buying it in as is. You don't have to pay for a surveyor. We'll take care of that. We want it without the survey. And then sometimes in an offer, they'll state buyer is willing to pay $5,000 over or $10,000. I mean, I had a buyer state he would pay $30,000 over appraisal. If the property appraised less than the purchase price, he was willing to pay $30,000 over to make sure he got the deal, and he got the deal. So another offer where they were willing to pay $5,000 and that offer got accepted.
So there's no
So
real
there
window
may-
shopping here. It's if you see see
Yes,
something in
yes.
this environment, you got to grab it.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Well, I do want to let you guys go, but a nice parting shot here. I've got another question from one of our online viewers on Facebook Live, because I know you guys got a bunch of deals that you guys are trying to do. But this one comes from Harvey Egner, right? This is a interesting question. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this before. Harvey says, does a land title granted during the Spanish colonial period, is it still considered valid today? And I think the sentiment of that is like generationally, how does title actually persist like over time?
If that person had documentation, I would recommend they take it to land management to see whether they have bearing on that particular title, or go to the title company so they could research how far back, because the title company will have a paper trail of ownership of property. And if it wasn't recorded, then they've got work to do. They would have to go to land management to see how they can get that property recorded. And the ownership trail, because, you know, during that period of time, ownership, it could have been their great grandparent who owned it. And then, of course, there's a generation down the line. And again, that's another complication, which would mean they'd have to go to probate. So I would tell them, go to land management and go to, the title company, to have them check the paper trail on that particular piece of property.
Yeah, Sean, have you ever heard anything about that? Like they said, like, oh, you know, Magellan did a deal with, you know, my great Nana, and, you know, does that title persist down to me in the current day? That's actually, I think that would be a very valid question.
It definitely is a very valid question, but normally, I've never had anybody ask me that, but if anybody did, I would definitely recommend them go to a title company and have them do the research. I would not be able to answer that question myself.
That's interesting. So Harvey, we're going to figure that one. That's a good question. Okay, so Sean and Liz, before we close, parting shot, where can people find you or your colleagues if they would like more information on how to get the process started and move into that home that they've always wanted?
Very glad you asked that. I'll make it super quick. So if you guys go call up the Guam Association of Realtors, or if you go a search engine and just type in Guam Association of Realtors, there's a list of licensed real estate agents or realtors on Guam. And one of the benefits, really quickly, if I can, Jason, that one of the benefits of using a realtor is that we help you find the home. We write up the purchase agreement to make sure that it's balanced, you know, that you get exactly what you want. We also help you with recommendations on home inspections and title companies, and we make sure that everything that you're looking for in the home, or everything that you want to happen in the home, you know, generally happens. So definitely call up the Guam Association of Realtors. Find a great realtor that'll be on your side.
Very nice. So Liz, always a pleasure dealing with you. Talking with you every single week highlighted my day. So if we get bonus time with you, really enjoy that. And Sean, always a pleasure, man. Thank you both for the information. Really good. And thank you guys for the questions you guys sent us on Facebook Live. Have a great day, guys. Be safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, and the link will continue. We have Sarah Thomas Netadog. We are going to talk about what we are doing to combat homelessness in our island community.